It's loading. And we're live. What's up? And welcome to another episode of the Live Clean and Fight Dirty show. Weekly at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, UFC coach John Hackleman and Kajukenbo Black Belt is here to answer all of your questions about martial arts and the universe. I keep expanding the things you're going to answer questions for, John. I hope you're prepared. Today's topic is fitness, striking, or grappling for self-defense. To make things interesting, we can choose only one. If you could choose only one thing for self-defense in this hypothetical world that we've come up with, what would be best for self-defense? I'm going to grab this loaded question and pass it off to the expert, John Hackleman. Which one do we pick? You can only pick one. Which one?
Okay. It's kind of an easy one. Striking. I mean, you could be a cardio machine, and you can't do any damage to anyone. You could be cardio and fitness, without martial arts is just running down the street and throwing a ball. Grappling, they have one chance. Grappling, you have one chance, really, is the takedown on a hard surface to knock the guy out. But let's not forget, we're doing these specialties standalone. So you can't know a little bit of takedown defense as a striker, because then it's not, we're not talking about MMA. We're talking about a straight striker. That's something you can't say about a grappler. There are no straight grapplers. And that's without striking, grappling is not straight in any way, shape, or form. So let's get it clear.
We're talking about
too much
striking. We're not talking about any type of like being straight or any other topics. You're sticking to martial arts here. Don't take.
I'm trying. But everybody gets, because it's hard to say with a straight face. Like somebody goes, well, he's a straight striker. You can say that, but then some people go, well, he's a straight grappler. You can't say that. So I'm just clearing it up, because one of the reasons people come to us here is they want to learn. They want to learn. Not always martial arts stuff. Sometimes they just want to learn good grammar, for God's sakes. And we teach that here. So anyway, okay. So if they happen to catch you with a beautiful takedown on a hard surface, that is pretty much the grappler's one chance. The striker, if he has many chances, strike with all his limbs. He's not just a boxer, he's a striker. So he can kick, knee, elbow, punch, and he can still move, because in boxing, in striking, you're still moving from your opponent. You have your hands up and you're moving. You're not doing takedown defense, but you're going for the knockout when you get in the range. Grapplers, they don't have any striking defense at all. They have their hands down low and they're trying to get a takedown. So if you can avoid that takedown and catch the chin, fight's over. Conditioning comes into play for both sides, but in and of itself, I don't see just a conditioning guy, fitness guy being able to hang with a true grappler or a true striker. Bing.
All right. Joseph, what do you think?
I'm going to 100% side with the pitmaster on this one. But the other thing too is, if we really have to, what is the striking? Like, if we're talking about just straight striking, boxing, or just straight striking from the Muay Thai side, we can't take away from the fact that Muay Thai does have its own grappling. Right? It does have its own throws and sweeps.
But all we're saying is striking, though. So yeah, if I take it at face value, I'm
with the pitmaster. I mean, you have more chances, you have more weapons, you have more targets, you have you have more opportunities to create whatever you need to with striking. And like like John said, when you're grappling, you only have one shot, and you can try to come at it again, but now you kind of gave away your golden ticket, so to speak. And in conditioning or fitness, I mean, you might as well be play fighting.
And okay, I got to bring this in. I'm thinking, okay, I've done it, and we do it a lot in training because we can have, I bring in a top wrestler to try to take us down, and we work on the takedown defense. And I've done that I've been lucky enough to be able to do that with the top wrestlers in the world. In fact, Tammy Henson's one of our main guys, won the silver medal in the Olympics, and one of the best wrestlers in the country. And I have them, working on our takedown defense over and over and over. And it's hard to hit a wrestler that is coming at you, but unless the wrestler knows how to really defend strikes, he's going to get caught coming in. He really will. So I'm trying to like change my own mind, but I can't. I stick with it.
Well, I'm going to be controversial here. And I'm going to tell you how I'm looking at this question. I'm looking at this for self-defense, and I'm assuming my assailant is the typical belligerent person who didn't give much thought into coming at me, right? They're probably untrained, most likely untrained. If they are trained, great. But I'm just going to look at this as self-defense. Common street guy puffs out his chest and wants to start a fight. We never really defined fitness here. We just said fitness, right? What if fitness means bodybuilding? What if I'm huge? What if I'm?
But it's not. I mean, fitness is. I mean, you can define fitness, and fitness would be like, to be honest, it would be like a high level, say, CrossFit athlete.
Okay,
so that's the definition of fitness, right? Because we can't go by they might be this or this or this. Fit. If they're fit and they engage in fitness, then I think it'd be like a CrossFit guy.
Okay. Let's define it as a CrossFit guy then. Let's say it's a CrossFit guy. Your typical CrossFit guy can probably bench about what? If he's benching, we'll just put some numbers out there. He can do a lot. Right. He can do quite a bit. He's got some pretty high numbers. I've seen CrossFit people; they're in pretty great shape. And let's just assume he's not huge, but he's not small. And he has some guy puff out his chest, and he gets in a fight with your average dude who comes at him. I want to say fitness. He's going to have more cardio. He might not be able to.
In doing what, though? In doing what?
In self-defense. Like, this is a guy, there are two guys who typically, we're assuming in self-defense, the guy attacking you, we're not saying it's fitness versus a striker versus a grappler. We're saying in self-defense. So, like, the average guy who gets in the fight on the street, some guy who's like, you cut me off on the road, and he comes out. The guy who's coming out in self-defense, the guy who's going to attack you, he may or may not be in shape. And if you're a CrossFit guy and you're in really good shape, that's going to be a huge advantage, even over if you're a guy. And remember, I said this is the hypothetical world where for some reason, whatever striking or grappling art you didn't make you fit. That's the biggest problem about this question, is we're assuming that the striker and the grappler are not fit. And in some cases, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. If you do boxing, you're fit. That's why I didn't want to say that earlier, because this totally tears apart the entire question. But what makes it interesting is if I said, for some reason, that we have this fitness guy who's in better shape for some reason than a striker or a grappler, I don't know why they're not doing, we're not assuming they're from the pit, because we know the pit guys are in shape and they can strike and they can grapple and they can do everything else. But I am assuming this is just some average dude who decided to put all his chips into one basket. That's not even.
I think we also need to, if we're using CrossFit as a reference point, we got to also remember that there's a litany or a high volume of individuals doing CrossFit that are living with a high sustainable amount of injuries, shoulders, neck, like knee, like if we're talking about fitness and an individual who has a fitness prowess, sure, they're fit, quote unquote, but those kind of fitness levels come with a higher level of injuries. And those individuals are not conditioned, like a fighter who's a striker or even someone who grapples, to deal with that kind of pain consecutively and basically just keep freaking going forward, so to speak. These individuals are like, oh, I hurt myself. I need to go see the chiropractor, or I need to get an ice bath, or I need kinetic tape. Versus, and any of our martial artist guys who I'll use strikers as the easiest one. Your conditioning is to take the hit and keep going, and you hit me, I'm going to hit you back harder. So like that individual will still probably be superior because of that conditioning. They will work through the pain. Somebody who is in fitness, they know how to take themselves to thresholds. They don't necessarily know how to work through pain, right?
My thing about the grappling is or the conditioning is if what we're picking is you don't have the other qualities, like if you're the striker, you don't have wrestling, you don't have conditioning. So and then the conditioning guy, that means you have conditioning. You don't have any striking, you don't have any grappling. So my thing would be, so what do you have? I mean, because they can't hit and they can't grapple, so they're in shape to run, to lift, but they don't know striking or grappling at all. Just like the grappler is gonna shoot his load after the takedown, and the striker is gonna lose his wind after the first combination or so. So you have to assume that conditioned guy, because we said fitness or condition, fitness or striking or grappling. So we got to assume the fitness guy has no striking or grappling. So conditioning is great, but what's he gonna use his conditioning for? So I don't know, like,
right? The more you are at one point, the further you are from the other two.
yeah, it's like a spectrum, kind of like everybody now. Everybody's in a spectrum. Hey, he's on the spectrum, okay? So what's the spectrum? And you know what? You got to thank God for it is you have to, and you have to weaponize the fact that we can do it, and the fact that we can weaponize weaponize. I say your cardio, and then make it into a weapon. But you have to add the other things behind it, right? You need the striking and the grappling, but now you weaponize everything. Weaponize your conditioning, because the more conditioning you have, like if two guys are standing there punch each other in the face, the guy with the more conditioning, he's going to be weaponized. He's going to hurt the other guy more. So that's why I like to use that, and I call it anaerobic glycosis, which is the way in which we get energy. Our body makes energy, by the Krebs cycle and ATP and glycolysis and stuff. But without oxygen is when you're the most tired. It's called an anaerobic, right, metabolism. We get anaerobic when we don't have any more air because we're working so hard and we're not in that great of shape. So we need it to go a different pathway. So we have to live in an anaerobic world. Like some things live without oxygen, not many, but we have to be able to do that. And that entails, instead of the normal pathway of oxygen, right? You go aerobic, right? So like aerobic means you're breathing enough where you're meeting all your bodily needs for oxygen. You can talk while you're working out. That's what you call aerobic. Anaerobic means you can't. There's no oxygen. You're sprinting, or you're doing burpees nonstop, or you're doing something where your cardio is not suffice. You don't have enough oxygen meeting your demands. That's when your body goes into overdrive, and it goes into the anaerobic glycosis, and that makes you. That's the only thing that'll give you energy, and you have to spend a lot of time training really hard to get that pathway, the anaerobic glycolysis, that pathway to work and produce ATP, which gives us our energy. Without that, if it doesn't work well, we're used to be aerobic creatures with oxygen. That's what aerobic means, with oxygen. Anaerobic means without oxygen. So when you say with oxygen, you can meet all the demands of your body, by just breathing. But when you start pushing hard, that sprint, and somebody's attacking you and you're on the street and he's pounding you and you're so tired because you're trying to hold and you're exhausted, that's when we have to weaponize our cardio. And in this case, it's not aerobic, it's anaerobic. So that's why I'm on that tangent. And that's why I'm so heavy with cardio and fitness.
So
Too much?
no, that's
Too
good.
many,
That's good. And then before I'm going to take a look real quick here at the YouTube comments, let them scroll in behind here. Zen says hello. Hi, Zen.
Hi.
Nicholas says bare knuckle striking. All right. Zen says I couldn't make it last weekend because my uncle passed away. We're sorry for your loss, Zen.
Sorry for your loss. What about the knuckles? What does that have to do with anything?
Oh no, they just said bare knuckle striking. I don't know. Maybe they were trying to define striking as bare knuckle.
Because I asked what's better, bare knuckle or hammer blow, but that was a different approach.
That was your video. I saw that one. Don't let PDD grab you. Jesus. And now, William John, when I asked this question last week, I had a CrossFit person in mind. Okay, cool. And I mean, another thing about CrossFit, it is a lot of the anaerobic you're talking about, but we talked about that either. John Cox, what about the psychological aspects of striking versus grappling versus CrossFit? Okay, one more layer to the question. I have two more comments here that we are going to get to, and we're going to get to that question after I mention these last few comments. Jesse says, I always say the guy with the confidence most of the time wins in the streets. True Vinister says, grappling. Fat boys like me can do it. And you don't have to run. Strikers do all that jump rope and stuff. But please, but people don't know how to grapple anyways. It's true, Vince.
Grappling without striking is gay. I'm sorry to tell you that, brother. But
It's not straight
if you're
grappling.
grappling with your friends,
Straight grappling.
if you're grappling with your friends, then it's gay. It's gay. If you're striking in there too, though, then that turns a little non-gay. But anyway, I'm sorry. What was the question?
So Jesse says, not Jesse, John Cox. What about the psychological aspects of striking versus grappling versus CrossFit? Okay, so now we're going to add an extra layer of the psychological aspects. Joseph, you mentioned this a little bit with the psychological aspects of a grappler. But if we look at the psychological aspects between striking, CrossFit, and grappling, what are your thoughts on that, John?
It's so easy. It's like this is what they are. Your psychological. Here it is. Your psychological. The way you psych out a striker is hit him in the face, knock him out. If your psychological course or your psychological theme for your grappler would be take him down quick and hold him down and try to punish him. Okay, there's the second one. The fitness guy's psychological is stay in shape and try to run until they both get tired and then run away. That's easy. That's the physical, because like almost all things in fighting, like if you're trying to psych out a fighter, you want to go to psychological training for a fighter. That's it right there. You want to so the conditioning, you always want to have more conditioning, and it'll give you more confidence for your psychological warfare. And the same goes for more striking. Now you're going to have more for that. But if you can only do one, then you want to make sure that one wins. Right?
Joseph, what do you think about that, the psychological aspects of those three? You kind of mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty parallel to John on that one. I personally think the striker is used to getting hit a lot, so therefore they have a different grind. I mean, I would even classify a wrestler with that same discipline mentality, just keep grinding away. Jiu-jitsu, in my eyes, as the main form of grappling that's usually discussed. I feel it. I mean, think about the time difference. I mean, it's a 5-minute round. You have a lot of time. A true bare knuckle fight, or even a boxing match, or it's 2 to 3 minutes, 5 minutes at most. But that's not a commonality. That's usually only championship, right? So I would say striking, because you got to out condition the other person as well as take the hits. The CrossFit person, I mean, the mentality is you have to be better, but you also have metrics to reference as a CrossFitter to be better. In striking, you don't have that much time to reference. It's either hit or be hit. Like John said, get hit in the face, you keep striking. If you're grappling, you have a lot of time to figure out if you're in a very dangerous place, like this person's going to choke me out or bust a joint out of place. So you got some time to either wallow when you're getting punished, or create an opening to persevere. I'd still lean towards the striker.
So now let's get to the part where why I didn't like this question. The reason I didn't like this question, I said this earlier, was because, and you kind of hinted towards it too, like, since we've made such a broad term, and that's why I started off with like the only one. The reason I say that is because when I look on the internet, that's how people talk to each other. Like, I only do striking. I only do boxing. I only do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I only do CrossFit. But and as most of you guys know, and John's school is a big testament to this, is they're doing it all. Not boxers so much, not some other schools, but especially in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If you're in a good, okay, I'll say it. Fuck it. If you're in a good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu program, you're covering striking. If you're not in a good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu program, and I'm not going to name anybody or say what kind of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu program you're in, and you're not doing any striking, you're not doing any drilling where the guy puts on MMA gloves and tries to punch you in the face, and you can still see if you can take them down to the ground and put them in that armbar or put them in that guillotine or throw them down to the ground, and that's what you want to do, I think that's what you should do, then you're not at a good jiu-jitsu school. And then I'll let you decide what that is. And they're doing cardio work. If you're in a jiu-jitsu program and they're not doing any cardio, you better question the jiu-jitsu program. That's what I'm going to tell you right now. If you're not going to, and that's the problem, you're not going to get that in boxing. There's no way you can do boxing and not do cardio. You can't get around that. This is not going to happen. Okay, let's get you ready for your fight, but don't worry, you don't have to run, no road work, no jump rope, no nothing. We're just going to send you in there with some pad work, and that's it. That just doesn't happen. So, yeah, I'm just going to grab the unloaded question and just pass it on to John. What do you think, man? Oh, yeah, and then you're not learning how to fight in CrossFit, so you're definitely going to lose. All right, so go ahead, John.
I already gave. I think everybody knows how I feel about it. What do you think, man?
Joseph?
What do you guys think?
I'm 100%. I mean, jiu-jitsu alone is not self-defense. It's a component. Striking alone can be self-defense. I mean, it only takes one shot. Anybody can have their night, or anybody can have their one shot. Anywhere in that triangle, everybody's different. Some people got a strong chin, some people don't. We've seen it many times in many fights. Just a fadeaway jab, it's out.
That's the worst feeling. One of the worst feelings in my life, besides not being able to, rise to the occasion and perform in bed. I'm not going to go there, but that's one bad one. I'll tell you one thing worse than that. There's only one thing. There's only one thing worse than that, and that's hitting someone, landing a left hook on their chin, and they stand there and they don't hit the ground. That's like, oh God!
Dude, I should just buy you a case of beer right now because I ain't gonna do anything else.
Yeah, fuck.
I mean, if you make contact to that chin and nothing moves, like you win.
So it's not good. Anyway, I think that's how I feel. What do we think? Everybody good?
So William says, I always looked at it as a boxer is constantly risking KOs and injuries, even in training. Although tough grapplers can always submit, so they don't have that toughness like strikers. True Vincer says, are we separating the standing grappling of wrestling or judo from BJJ, or is it one package? My school offers Kajukenbo as a side class, and it covers mostly boxing, karate, and judo side of things. And like I said earlier, I think that was the biggest problem with this question, is that we never did. We were just grabbing the entire world of grappling, wrestling, judo, whatever it is, and we just made that general term on purpose to make this an interesting show. So we just kept it to grappling as any type of grappling, and striking to any type of striking. We gravitated towards boxing. But that was really the side of it, True, to answer your question there, if that was a question. William John says, BJJ has become so trendy and watered down that you never know if you're in a good BJJ gym. Hey, you do know, I already told you earlier, if they're not putting on any gloves and punching you in the face, even if that's not your emphasis, then then you're learning sport BJJ. Nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do. There's nothing wrong with soccer or football or baseball. If you want to do that sport, go for it. But you're not learning self-defense. Says, run away.
What do you say?
Run away.
Remember that joke about turn a BJJ black belt into a white belt? He grabs you, you punch him in the face, and then he goes for your collar, you elbow him in the chin, and then you just keep slapping him silly until he can't fight anymore.
Wow. I could be in I could be in a lot of trouble.
You got jokes. And you got jokes.
Some of my best friends in the whole world are they're opposite of me. Like some guy would be straight, they're gay, or you're whatever and I'm whatever, opposite. It's like some of my best friends are jiu-jitsu guys that are like world famous jiu-jitsu guys, like Ricardo Laborio, and
they won't even let us hit for a strike, so that's why they're good.
Yeah, so I can't. When I do the arguments about how grappling's gay and all the yada yada yada, and I've been doing that for years and years, and all my buddies, I'm so blessed that they're still my friends, and they still talk to me, and they just shake their head when I start in about wrestling's gay, yada yada yada. They just shake their head and laugh, and I'm so glad that they don't just fucking do a running double on me and slam me on the ground. They don't though, and I appreciate the fact that they don't.
I'm gonna use that as cue to exit stage left.
Yeah. Sometimes when I'm saying these things, I'm like, am I really saying this to this guy? I have a feeling he could get angry and just attack me and boom. But what is that?
John had to go. So Joseph had to go. So he left the chat. So yeah. I mean, yeah. You just need to take the question in that context, because it was a fun exercise. Zen says, now when you said if you throw a left hook and that person is still standing, that's what you meant. Yeah, if you throw a left hook and that person's still standing, yeah, you're in trouble. You better run or apologize or something. Start figuring out.
Or just cry.
What's that?
Or cry.
Cry. Yeah, cry. maybe they'll feel sorry.
That was a good way to go about it. Just to pick one,
Yeah, I think so. It made for a fun conversation. All right. Well, unless John, do you have anything else to add? No.
Okay.
No. This has been another episode of the Live Clean and Fight Dirty show every Wednesday at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Hey, are you looking for a place to train that does cardio, that does fitness, that does striking, that does grappling? Well, I got the place for you at thepit.tv. You can audit a class or sign up for an entire class and go through the entire Pit Hawaiian Kempo program. If you sign up, there's still a few spots available. You can literally go from white to black and be certified as a Pit Kajukenbo, Pit Hawaiian Kempo. Hawaiian Kempo. I never really asked you this. Can you get certified? You can get certified as an instructor, huh? Like you get through the whole program, you become a certified instructor, right?
Yeah, black belts, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's clear that up right now. So you can literally go through the program and then later teach Hawaiian Kempo. So check it out. It's still spots available. If you're hesitant, less than a cup of coffee, less than what you spend on coffee in the month, not even the month, in the week. If you buy a cup of coffee, you're spending more money than you could to check out these classes and learn how to strike, how to grapple, how to get fit. All three things. We don't separate these things. They're all together. That's what we want you to figure that out. Catch you next time.